ice cream. Is that shameless product placement? Well, while we're at it, my lovely Sci-Fi London t-shirt is made by the wonderful folks down at nerdo.com, who sell the best movie-related t-shirts around. Welcome to our second episode of The Pulse with Sci-Fi London, coming to you from the heart of Oktoberfest.
Hi, I'm Mike Cahill, and this is Sci-Fi London.
First up, we have a big congratulations to director Henry Barriel and producer Mark Stoloff, who've just won Best Sci-Fi Feature at Shriekfest and also won Best Feature Art April Festival for their movie Pig. It's not out on DVD yet, but we'll let you know as soon as it is. We'd also like to give a big plug to our friend and Sci-Fi London regular Christian Viel, whose new web TV show Heroes of the North is now online. It's a fabulous superhero show featuring some sexy shiny latex. Check it out at www.heroesofthenorth.com.
Hi, this is Percy from Attack the Block, and you're at Sci-Fi London.
As usual at Sci-Fi London, we've been busy with the cameras meeting some interesting people. Here's a peek of us chatting to director Mark Cahill about his new film Another Earth, which is out in December.
Do you read me? Is anyone out there? We're getting feedback. Let's try another channel. Hello? Hello? This is Dr. Joe.
What does that mean? I don't understand what that means.
It's hard to find originality in this world, and there's no original concepts, I think, but there's original juxtapositions. And for me, I like the idea of combining a high concept, a science fiction concept, the idea of a duplicate Earth, the idea of 6.3 billion doppelgangers living in this globe up in the sky. And I like the ideas that provoked. And I guess old school science, it's more old school science fiction, like Twilight Zone-esque or you know, the original places where sci-fi was going, which is the literature of ideas or the impossible metaphor to reveal something about humanity. So in a way, it's that kind of sci-fi. It's not the kind of science fiction that we may know as the dominant science fiction of today, which is the big CG visual effects driven films. But at its heart, it has that idea of the impossible metaphor to learn something about humanity. It's a very organic creation. So basically our technique is we would meet and pitch each other the story. Before writing a word, we would we wrote the characters' backstories and stuff like that and kept trying to figure out who these people were and wrote the backstories to what the science was and superior conjunction and how this planet comes out from behind the sun. And but then we would sit in a room and we would tell each other the story, and trying to entertain one another and to move one another. And then finally there was a moment where it clicked into place. And it was exhilarating. It was when we discovered what the final twist was going to be and how the movie was going to lead up to its final conclusion. And we were exhilarated, and then we opened the computers and just started writing. My whole childhood I've been obsessed with science and space and Carl Sagan and Asimov and Dr. Richard Berenson, this astrophysicist who I admire a great deal. He narrates this audiobook of his. Dr. Berenson, much like Carl Sagan, has this incredible ability, this gift, to tell the story of the cosmos, the mathematics of the cosmos, in an emotional narrative that the layperson could digest. I was really moved by his work, so I wrote him, I met him, and asked him to help with the science of the film, and it is, in many ways, the film is impossible. What takes place scientifically, it's impossible, and yet, you know, it comes from inspiration of the multiverse and string theory and the idea that there absolutely are parallel universes. There is the multiverse, and so it takes that and kind of like puts it through the metaphor artistic license like handshaker and pours out this creation which is ultimately a metaphor. So it falls apart if you poke holes at it scientifically, it's going to fall apart. But if you look at it as an emotional whole and are open to the fact that this is here for metaphor and for poetic reasons, then hopefully you'll go on an emotional journey and feel something ineffable at the end. One, to make sure your physics are exactly correct. Like, we can go to school for that, but it's really to understand something about human empathy in this film. The idea of would you forgive another version of yourself? Would you like another version of yourself? If you sat down and confront another version of you, what would you feel?
We also caught up with Charlie Higson, author of teen zombie novel The Fear.
Bite! 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 No! Buy my book!
In a nutshell, it's kids versus zombies, although technically they're not real zombies, but we'll come on to that. The idea is that a kind of mysterious illness has struck the planet, but it only affects people over the age of 14, who are either wiped out straight away or have become diseased to such an extent that they behave like a classic Romero-style flesh-eating zombie. But except the difference is the only fresh food available to them is children, basically. So children are trying to survive in London, kind of breaking into houses and finding any cans of food that might have been left behind or whatever, whilst trying to avoid marauding gangs of adults who are trying to eat them. Like a lot of people, as a teenager, I was really into horror, and I felt, you know, that's a good genre for kids. And I thought, if I could really frighten a kid reading a book, if you could put something in that book that so frightened them that they would remember that for the rest of their lives. Sort of, if I could scar them for life, they would always remember that, you know, and they could say to people, God, did you ever read that by Charlie Higson? You know, that bit, you know, I had nightmares about that for ages. And that's what you want as a writer, is for people to remember your books, for your books to stick in their mind and lodge like that. I was worried though when I came to write the first one. I thought, I want to scare kids, but I don't want to kind of freak them out, send them into kind of lunatic asylum. So I thought, well, all I can do is read the book out to my youngest boy as a bedtime story and see how he reacts. And if he can cope with it, I thought, well, anyone can, you know. He was slightly young as a target readership, but I thought that's the only way I can do it, really. And so I started reading it to him. We came to the first scary bit, and I finished it, and you know, my heart was really pounding. I was like, God, I hope he's going to sleep tonight. And I looked round, he's just sitting up in bed grinning. I said, well, didn't you find that frightening? He said, no, not at all. Yeah, it's great. I loved all the gore and the violence in it, but no, I'm not frightened. So I thought, okay, modern kids are harder to scare. So the next scary bit we come to, I push it even more. Same reaction, he's refusing to get scared. So I thought, okay, well, the challenge is on here. And I kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Until eventually, I'd put him to bed, finished reading it, at about 4 in the morning, hammering on the door, woke up, he came bursting into the bedroom, floods of tears, covered in sweat, his hair all matted. He'd had this really awful nightmare based on the book, and I thought, yes, I finally got him. Oh, what a relief. Okay, these books are working. But it's a tricky thing also because you can get away with a lot more in a book than you can in a film for kids. And I think a lot of modern adults who maybe remember the kids' books from their childhood and haven't kept up with what's going on these days will be quite surprised of how intense and gory and nasty a lot of modern kids' fiction can be. And, you know, there's this idea now, you know, you bring out something violent, you say, well, you know, some politician be jumping up and down, we can't be promoting violence for the kids, and why is it all this sort of guns and shooting and blowing up? But you put it in a book, they don't mind at all. It's like, oh, he's reading a book, how marvellous. We don't live in this barbaric age after all. You want to say, yeah, but the book is about someone having their head torn off and being eaten. And I think if you did make a horror film that was faithful to these books, or a TV series, the kids it's aimed at wouldn't be allowed to watch it. So I think it would be a challenge. Could you make a really scary, gory horror film that you could keep at, say, a 12 certificate? You might have to go up to 15 on it, but Because I wanted to write in these books, I wanted them to have that same kick and intensity that I got as an 18, 19-year-old watching X films as they were in my day, but for younger readers. But no, my spare time is I do a lot of computer gaming and gardening. Yeah, if they could put it together in a really exciting gardening computer game, I'd be so happy. There's Plants vs. Zombies, I suppose.
And now, here's a roundup of the events that took place during this year's Oktoberfest, featuring Rob Deb's Cabaret, stand-up comedy, burlesque, and our anime and mystery science theatre all-nighters.
Thank you all for coming down this night. How many of you are here for SCI-FI London? Do this with me if you would. Raise your hands thus and imagine between your palms a ball of force. Or ignore me, it's up to you. Come on, raise your hands now. Cross your hands like this. This is going to make sense, I promise. Grip your hands tight like this. Wiggle your right little finger. Nobody's got the answers. That looks difficult. I will try, Yoda. Oh, I do not. There is no try. Oh, fucking Yoda. Tell it like it is. Why couldn't you have been my dad?
We hope you enjoyed that. We sure had a great time. If you're chomping at the bit for our next big festival, we're back at the Apollo Piccadilly from the 1st to the 7th of May 2012. Submissions for filmmakers are open from the 7th of November through withoutabox.com. With Christmas approaching so soon, make sure you keep some money aside for the Blu-ray release of The Rise of the Planet of the Apes from 20th Century Fox, out on December 12th. Visit our website to listen to Kevin Anderson talking about his new book, Captain Nemo. And last but not least, just to tease you, we have an exclusive interview in our next episode with Christopher Paolini discussing his upcoming novel, Inheritance.
Hi, I'm Christopher Paolini, and this is Sci-Fi London.
As always, we welcome your feedback, so email us at thepulse@scifilondon.com or find us on Facebook or Twitter. See you next time.